Alright, we're back. And this is going to be the video on Chum Kiu. So we have Silam Tao. You have the first form, which pretty much is the encyclopedia. It's the reference book. It's everything that you need to know about Wing Chun as far as our tools go. We covered the internal side of it. The internal side is important because it's just like having a gun without bullets or a hose without water. If you don't understand why you're doing a movement and focus on the inside of yourself, you're just doing empty movements, and you have an impact weapon versus something that can actually fire out projectiles with a destructive power. Chum Kiu has two meanings. Chum Kiu or Cham Kiu, some people call it, really terminology, it varies all over. Some people refer to it as seeking the bridge. Well, that's the primary meaning. I've heard some people say sinking the bridge. Okay, the bridge in a physical aspect is referred to as the place of contact that you make between yourself and your enemy. In our kind of school of thought, since our hands are up between us, the points between your elbow and your wrist, this area here is what we refer to as the bridge. Theoretically, the bridge could be anything. If I make contact with somebody's shoulder, I bridge the gap between myself and the enemy, okay? If they put up their foot and I make contact with my shin and their shin, I made contact with them, so I bridge the gap. So some people think that by having this up, you want to sink the bridge. So we're learning to sink the bridge. I won't say that's inaccurate. I just say that that's just not my understanding of it. So when we seek the bridge, we are seeking to bridge the contact between us and the enemy. In the first form, you're static. We don't move the lower half. It's all upper half. So that in the second form, you're learning shifting. You're learning footwork. So it's fundamentally understandable that you're going to try and learn to seek the bridge between you and the enemy. That's what that is. What I like to actually think of better is that the other understanding I've been told of seeking the bridge is you're learning to seek the bridge in yourself. Meaning, you have this encyclopedia now. You have this stance. You have this energy. You're learning how to use it. You're learning how to use your tools, your weapons, your paintbrush, all this. Now you have to put it together in movement. You're putting the upper and the lower triangle together. Okay? You're learning how to move your whole body in sync. Okay, going back to the fact that most street fights end up on the ground, what makes Wing Chun look really cool is also its biggest, killing aspect as far as credibility goes. What I mean by that is the fact that our hand speed is blinding fast, and it has a lot of people do not take Wing Chun seriously because you're going to be playing patty cake into me in the air while I'm taking you down. I kind of agree with that. The chain punching you see people do, they build this hand speed, and they want to just fire off 20 punches inside of a second. Now, I think that's kind of cool. I think it's great. I would gladly sacrifice 20 punches in 1 second for one well-placed, powerful punch where you just load everything up. You incorporate your shift, your elbow, your hip energy, and bam! And you end it with one punch. To me, that's what Wing Chun is. Okay? I followed David Pedersen's concepts from Wang Shenglong's lineage, which was everything about the wooden dummy, everything about some parts of the first form is about recovery. Meaning, my Wing Chun should be, here's a confrontation. If I absolutely have to be engaged, bam, there's my Wing Chun, and it's over. If I miss, everything, my Bong Sao, my Pak Sao, my Tan Saos, are all about recovery to get in a better position to deliver that other punch. That's what we practice the most. Syed says it all the time, is you have to understand where the power comes from, and then you have to be able to apply it. So we're learning, understand where this power of our punch comes from. So we punch over and over and over and over again. We're understanding the power of the punch in relation to our body and then how to deliver it. Part of that comes into footwork. Okay? Remember, a fight shouldn't last longer than 2 seconds. So this isn't MMA. This isn't we're going to go for some point sparring competition. We want to end the fight because we're littler people or whatnot in a matter of 2 seconds. Okay? So that's what we're learning to tie the two things together. It's important to understand and learn to tie the two triangles together because of balance. Staying on your feet is going to be crucial. You learn as time goes on, there's also a difference between your hips moving and your waist moving. There's an independence that your body has. Okay? It's great for Chi Sao. It's great for energetic applications, but for fighting, you want to be able to tie these two things together. Okay? This is what's essential, is we're looking at fighting application. So, just like the other video, I'm going to do the form first. Again, I really encourage you to look on YouTube and watch the differences between people's variances of forms. I'm going to explain in one section in particular why we focus so much on the waist and hip movement in Wing Chun, in Chum Kiu, and why it's important. What we refer to as Yuma, okay, and why I don't see some of this stuff on YouTube. I think for the most part that a lot of people know it. I don't think that I'm, like I said, I'm not the end all be all. I think there's people who know this stuff a million times better than I do. But I think for application sakes, I really don't see it too much on YouTube. So when you watch it and you don't see what I'm doing, I'm going to explain why. Meaning when you don't see other people do what I do, I'll explain why. So I'm going to do the form. I'm going to run through it, and I'm going to do no real power in this. Chum Kiu, in my opinion, it's my favorite form to do. It is exhausting if you do it, and you can do it with some great exertion of energy. Okay, so I may add a little bit of power on there, but for the most part, I want to go through it because I don't want to be out of breath when explaining the other sections on this. Okay. That's Chum Kiu. We're going to break it down into 3 sections. We'll be back. All right, we're back, and we're going to sit there and break down the sections of Chum Kiu. Understand something off the bat too. I think for the most part I've done the form exactly the same way for some time, and then I varied a little bit, then I returned it. Like the first form, okay, for years when I learned it, there was this section: punch, tan sao, yun sao, chamber. Okay, then I went to my current teacher, and it was punch, sat sao to tan sao, yun sao, chamber. Some people do the third section with the tan sao gan sao section. Tan sao comes right down center line, gan sao, tan sao. Some people sit there and do the third section tan sao, where it comes halfway in between shoulder and center line. So there's going to be some variances and differences. Off the bat, I mean, there are times when in my second section where I fak sao, jump sao. And there's also times fak sao, tan sao. There's times when I open it, punch, tan sao, yun sao, shift back. Or there's times when I punch, tan sao, sat sao, tan sao, yun sao, chamber, and then shift and punch. So it's not so much as a sequence, keep that in mind, but what you're doing with the form, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to run through the first section, break it down, and again, too, I use a 50-50 stance in this, and we've talked about this before. I think what's crucial is that the original way I was taught, for me personally, was you had a 70-30 stance. You had all 9 points of your foot flat on the ground. Well, if this is the case, and I'm in my Yiji Kim Young Ma stance, and I shift, you see how to get all 9 points foot on the ground, my axis has to move over. Now, my head is in line with my hip, is in line with my foot. If I shift to the other side, it's almost like I have to settle in or move my axis first, then shift. Okay, I think that's great for training. And the point is can you shift to be able to lift up that foot for a kick to deliver a balanced kick without compromising your center of gravity? I'm not going to lie, I'm not crazy about kicks. Kicks are for me are for the knee down, you kick and then enter so that you can control the hands, okay? Wang Sheng Lung did a 50-50 stance, and I agree with that, okay? If you look, here's your weight distribution in your EG Kim Young Ma stance. You shift, the axis stays right down the middle. When you shift, you do try to shift on as much as your foot as possible. If you're on carpet or rubber matting and you shift with shoes and you try and keep all of your foot on the ground, you will blow out your knee. So that's why we pick up our toes slightly to shift. And I know you can't see my foot. You put the weight on the back of the heels. If I shift on my toes, this is a side view. If I shift on my heels and I'm settled back in my stance, I'm able to keep that center of gravity down a little bit better. Okay, so that's what's crucial. That's what we want to keep on there. Now keep in mind too, like I said, I'm flat-footed with an instep, so my feet go like this naturally. When I'm in this stance, I feel a lot of spring and ready to bolt forward. I'm still in a good aggressive stance. Okay, I'm not forward heavy and I'm not rear heavy. All it takes is 1% transfer of weight energy in order to move. If I'm in 50-50 and I want to move forward, all I got to do is go 49 to 51 and then I'm able to move. Again, this is just, it's going to take you hopefully a lot shorter time to find your shift than it took me, because I went through so many different teachers' translations of this is how you had to do it until I went, great. Well, for me, my balance works best at 50-50. If you train under Syed does 70-30, and you can't rock his balance. So I think it's completely up to the individual. It's whatever you want to do where you have balance, and balance is crucial, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up the stance normal, okay? You chamber, sink, open, open. Some people leave their feet in the Yiji Kim Young Ma stance. Some people straighten it out after this, okay? I have no issue with either. Because if, excuse me, you're not going to stay in that position. Unlike the first form, we put out our center fighting line and roll in lop sows, okay? Where we get, remember this movement? We have that, okay? Here, lop sows roll in. I set up my punch and I start to incorporate my shift. I shift the punch, sut sao, tan sao, yun sao, and I lop sao back to center, chamber to center. Okay, for all intents and purposes, when you're chambering, you're learning to elbow behind you or you're learning to lop sao something in. So you're developing power off the bat. Let's do the second side. Boom, tan sao, yun sao, chamber. Okay, double jump sao, excuse me. They come down and forward, straight out. From the side view, they're like this. Okay? I'm going to shift 90 degrees to we're going to work 180 degree spectrum. Okay, some people only work 45 degree spectrums. Granted, in a fight, you're never going to turn from here all the way to here to deflect a block. But if you can train in this much space to be perfect, I mean, why train in this much space when you can train in this much space and make use of all of it, okay? So from here, I'm going to sit there and go to double lan saos, which is this movement. Okay, look from the first form, left over right. I try not to touch my two arms. Okay, the fingertips are flush with the elbows, and I want to keep this here. My center of gravity too, my lan saos sunken down here. They're not up here. I don't want to raise that center of gravity. I want to keep it nice and low. Okay. Here, I'm going to shift to my left. It mimics elbows. 1, 2, 3. From here, I'm going to extend. Some people extend fingertips. I extend fox saws. I come back down, double tan saos. My right hand pox, and I extend tan sao 1, stick tan sao 2, tan sao 3, palm strike 1, palm strike 2, palm strike 3. Now I'm going to shift the other direction. This is going to go into lan sao, my right arm. This is going to chamber. Facing this way. Take my left hand, set it up in wu sao. I drop my guard a little bit, relax. I rotate towards you, bong sao, and guard. Chamber this hand, lan sao this hand. 1, 2, 3. I take this hand, I set it up on top of here. I'm going to chamber this hand while punching this hand. Punch, Fox Sao, square up, back down Tan Sao, cover this, thrust off with Tan Sao, Yun Sao, grab chamber. I repeat the exact same thing on the other side, which we're going to limit that at that because you have the first part of this in the DVD to watch this. Let's break down a ton of information on here. Okay, so what I said in the first part of this is what I was going to show you that I don't see a lot of is the Yuma usage. What you should see when I do the form is a lot of me rising and falling as well. Yuma is the concept of us using waist energy, turning. And I talked about that in the first or second DVD about the triangle, okay? One side projects and one side pulls back. Well, Yuma is dynamic. Not only do we sit there and rotate side to side, but we also rise and sink, okay? If you look at our punch, okay, our punch is on an angle, maybe, I don't know, 30 degrees, 25 degrees, whatever that is. We're coming up and punching at an angle, up and punching, okay? To reinforce that, we use our spine and our legs up and punching. When we get to the wooden dummy, I'm going to show you the opening movement for the wooden dummy and how that's the very first movement. When you watch, okay, I shift, double jump Sao, watch my height change as I sink and lan Sao. Okay, that's one aspect of what I'm doing. I'm sinking and lan Saoing, okay, creating that energy. What's dynamic about the form is that as you shift one direction, you're going to be using all this stuff. So you have to ask yourself, well, what is he doing when he's turning? Am I elbowing here? Or am I elbowing with this? You're training both of it. Okay? Do this form over and over again. You're going to see there's so many things with this form. It's unbelievable. Elbow left, elbow right. I'm learning to train that. The other way, learning to train that. Learning to train that. You're also learning how to build up lap Sao energy here. Here, here. You're learning how to build that pulling energy, okay? Not only are you doing the pulling energy, because this way I'm pulling, right? But this arm is going that way. So you're also learning elbowing energy, or doesn't even have to be elbow. It's a shifting Yuma energy you're learning over and over and over again. Yuma is not just mutually exclusive with going side to side as well, or up and down. It's also being stationary and turning. Remember how I told you in the beginning there's an independence, yet a dependency between your hips and your waist. In this position, what I don't see in a lot of people, again, too, I'll vary this up too. From this position here, when we go like this, I go Fox Saos, okay? I'm throwing this Fox Sao out. Some people go fingertips out. There's no right or wrong. I just happen to go Fox Saos because I'm thinking strike, because it's in the dummy, strike. This is not in the dummy. This is the dummy, so I incorporate that. Here, I sink. Okay, I'm learning to sit there and, like I said in the second DVD, turn energy on and off. Turn energy on, turn energy off. I come into my Tan Saos. Energy on. These movements, if you see me in Chi Sao, I pock and punch. It's Pak Sao. It's learning to strip something off while attacking at the same time. This section, watch the movement. This is what I see from a lot of people. 1, 2, 3. Okay? You're stationary, but you're learning Yuma. What I would prefer out of you is 1, 2, 3, strike and rotate. Learn to use, although your hips are locked into place, you're still turning them with what limited movement you still have. 1, 2, turn. 3, develop that power in that station. Feel that back leg driving it off of it. From here, this position where I chamber this hand and elbow this hand, you're now learning energy in opposite directions. What do you mean? I have to go from here and elbow, lan Sao, borrowing arm. As hard as I am going from here, torquing this movement, I'm taking this hand and chambering it this way. So I'm going pulling and pushing. Where did we get that? First form. Now you're adding a shift into it. This is a very dynamic form, and it has several discoveries, if you will, that you will spend time trying to figure out. Okay, I want to give you what I see in it so that you can see it as time goes on as well. 1, 2, 3, strike, strike, strike with hip, Yuma, using your legs, using your hips, setting up, energy in opposite directions. Elbow here to lan Sao, elbow here, lap Sao. Bam, right there. Our first Bong Sao series is learning how to move around an object. Okay? I set up, I relax a little bit. If you picture, here's, a big muscular arm. You're not going to move somebody around it. You're going to learn to move around it. Here, you rotate around it, redirect around it. Here's the energy again in opposite directions. Back. Setting up. You're learning to shift and move that shift with it. Just 3 times. Set up. You're learning your lap sao again. Lap punch. Watch me twist my whole waist here. Punch. Fox sao. I square back up the center. Watch how I sink back down. Okay? Sinking energy. Sinking the bridge. Okay? Some people think that translates to it. Set this up. Clear. See, Tan sao thrusts, clears. Some people will build G off. Stick with Tan sao for right now. Tan sao, Yun sao, grab chamber. Okay? There's a lot going on in this first section of the form. You're learning a moving bong sao. How you're not going to move somebody, you're going to move around the object. Okay? You're learning how to do that. You're learning how to shift. Your first shift. You're learning how to shift and put the brakes on. Try the difference between the two footworks of 50-50, going 1, 2, 3. Or leaning back and going 70-30, 3. For me personally, I spent the first 6 years of my Wing Chun, 6 or 7 years, doing the 70-30. When Sam Kwok came into town, I asked him about how I lost balance. I could not keep the teetering effect from 1, 2. You have to put the brakes on. You have to shift as powerfully as possible with torque and use your adductor muscles to stop. Bam! They got to stop and dig down. For me, that comes with a 50-50 balanced stance. Okay, so Sam and I went over that, and he had said that, you have to discover your shift better. And that's where I discovered the 50-50 shift for me. Some people could do it with insane power in 70-30. Personally, I cannot. So you're learning to develop that start and stop torque energy from starting and stopping. This arm goes as fast and as powerful as this arm. Now the other direction. Here. Other direction. Here. Here. I'm rising when I set these off. And I sink when I come back down. 1, 2, 3. Strike, strike, strike. Energy. You'll see a lot of rising and falling when I wind up doing that. It's because I'm learning to discover my yuma, my waist energy, keeping all that power on that. Okay? It's the first section. If all you did was the first section and you picked it apart for several weeks, several months, do it. It's going to come into play in almost everything you wind up doing. Okay? First section is one of the most important, just like in the first form. Okay? We're going to go over the next form in the next sections. All right, we're back. I'm going to go on to the second section now of Chum Kiu. Keep in mind, everything applies. Yuma, rising, sinking. I'm not going to go over so much as application as far as, well, what does this mean in a fight or whatnot, or in chi sao. We'll get to those in the time being. I just want you to get the sequence of the movements down right now and to develop power. You're going to see where these things apply on your own, hopefully, should you use them. You'll see that, in this section of the second section here, where we go from, here to here or here to here, you're learning that it's a possibility of redirecting energy. You're going to learn, if some of you could picture, if you picture from here, you've got my arm pinned here, and I'm in a position of shift. I'm learning to redirect your energy while I punch. Okay, it's one possibility. Okay, it's also teaching you how to face. Well, I'm not facing you, am I? Well, I'm facing you now. I'm learning to redirect and face. So the footwork is going to be very dynamic, and it's open to your interpretation. I cannot say that enough. Anybody who says no, that's not what it's for, I'm sorry, man. I don't study under Ip Ching. I don't study under Ip Chung. I never met Ip Man. He died, in the 70s before I was born. Bruce Lee died long before I was born. There is no set way to do something. Anybody who told Van Gogh or de Gaulle or Dali this is the way you must paint, no. We obviously know what history taught that. So, okay, let's look at the second section. Where we finished with the clearing, Tan sao, Yun sao chamber, second section. Go to the left side again as usual. Okay, we're only going to do the left side on this. Your job is to figure out the right side on your own, and then you have this as a reference with the beginning opening part to make sure you have it right. Okay, I'm going to punch, open lan sao, and shift. So I punch, lan sao, and I sink again as usual. Remember, the yuma applies. Punch, open hand, lan sao. I'm at 90 degrees here. Okay, I'm going to transfer weight, kick. Don't worry about the kick right now. You have to kick this way. You just kick it this way. This is an incorrect kick. If your foot only has the mobility to turn like that, then turn it like that. If you can get the surface area to turn like that, great. It's not a dynamic kick, or it's not a very big kick. Here, we kick and fall into the step. Every time we take a kick, we don't go bam, bam. We kick into a step, okay? You're going to kick, fall, and do a movement at the same time. Bong sao, okay? It's a new bong sao. It's a throwing out bong sao, if you will. Punch, shift lan sao. I kick. As I kick, this goes into guard, this goes into bong sao. Falls and boom, guard. You're going to do this 3 times. That's 1, okay? 2 more times. The steps can be huge, they can be small. Doesn't make a difference. Both hands come down into double tan saos, if you will. Now remember, forwarding energy. I'm going to show you this from a side in a second. Okay? 1. That's 2, excuse me. 3. I'm doing shorter steps, so I say within the camera view. This hand chambers. This hand punches. Remember the elbow in from the first form? Elbow in, drop my elbow in. This is going to rotate. 3 movements here. Rotate, drop elbow, punch. There are some people who go uppercut and punch. Do both. Do either one. Train them both. Here. Elbow comes down, regain center line, punch. Shift back to center, jump sao. No fox sao. If you do a fox sao, I do every now and then, doesn't make a difference. Here, punch, fox sao, or to jump sao, excuse me, tan sao clear, yun sao chamber. From a side view, kick, fall into place. 1, project that forward, okay? This is also the Quan sao energy, okay? 2, 3, punch, here, 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 and do the other side. So again, now the other side here, boom, there you go. That's the second section. Break it down, go over it. Remember, yuma, sinking, rising, sharp shifts. This was in the first form. Remember, 1, 2, elbow down. We'll look at the same thing, but a third bong sao, elbow down, punch. You can elbow down, uppercut, I don't care. Boom, look at that movement you have here. Elbow down, punch. Work them both. Work them both out. Okay, get the movements down, work out the sequence, do it slow. Fall into place. Punch, jumps out, tans out, clear, kick, fall. 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 boom. Then we're going to start the third section, okay? We'll be back. All right, we're going to finish with the third section here. Remember, we're still incorporating the shifting, the rising, the yuma, the sinking, okay, the turning on energy, the turning off energy. Okay, I'm going to show you. We're going to introduce the third bong sao in this, which is dai bong. It's a low bong sao. Now, bong sao again, when you train it in the form from a front side point of view, keeping my wrist on level with my sternum, right here. This is bong sao. But we can guarantee if you punch me, this is not going to pick it up here. So bong sao can be applied anywhere along this range of motion until you have to switch it to another movement. So feel free to experiment where your bong sao belongs in an application. So it's not just limited to here. It's not just limited to here, 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 here. It's wherever you want to put your bong sao that it still applies in the same fashion. Okay, so we're going to finish up the third section here. Shift. I'm going to pick up my weight. Kick. Fall into a step and put 2 low bong saos, dai bong sao. Tan sao. Step and forwarding energy bong sao. Again, tan, yun, here. From here, I'm going to bring my foot here into here. At the same time I do that, I'm going to take my arms, elbows in, and pull down in jut saos. Okay? Here, jut sao. You can see I'm bent with my knees, and I'm going to press and palm strike. Tan sao, yun sao, chamber. Put my foot behind me, shift and face the other direction. Kick, step dai bong 1. Tan sao. Dai Bong 2, Tan Sao. Dai Bong 3, from here, I'm going to bring up my left foot to match even with my right. Elbows in and Jut Sao, pulling down. Straightening up, pressing, palm strikes. Tan Sao, Yun Sao, chamber. I sink a little bit, the whole rising and sinking. I take my left foot and do a clearing motion, almost like a crescent kick in other martial arts. Clear, plant, and shift left with a Gum Sao. Here's my hand ready to press. Going to Gum Sao, Gum Sao. Shift punch once, shift punch 2, shift punch 3 back to center. We're going to end on the left side. Punch 4, Tan Sao, Yun Sao, chamber, press and return. That's it. That's the end of the third section on that one as well. You still incorporate the same movement, the same concepts of the movements. We'll do it again. Shift, kick, double Dai Bong, Tan, double Dai Bong, Tan, double Dai Bong, Tan, Jut Sao, palm strike, Tan Sao, Yun Sao. Slide. The reason for this step here is we're not arbitrarily turning and facing. You're going to lose balance that way. We're learning to keep our foot down, step, clear it, keep a safe distance first, step, then shift. There's where we're keeping our ground and keeping our balance on there. Kick, 1. Always forwarding energy. We're still going forward. Elbows in, forwarding energy, forwarding energy, forwarding energy, forwarding energy. Pure strike, Tan Sao, Yun Sao here. Clear, press, Gum Sao, press, Gum Sao, press, punch, 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 punch and chamber, Tan Sao, Yun Sao, chamber, return energy into earth. This form is dynamic. It's a great form. It's a great workout. You will break a sweat when you do it with intent. You will get winded. It's fantastic. Learn to develop a strong shift with torque and power. Learn to turn that energy on and then turn it off again. On, off, and it will come in split-second time the more you practice this. Practice it slow, practice with power. Lose your balance, gain your balance. Feel free to explore this form. It's a great form. I've been doing it over 10 years and it still is never not boring for me. The movements are never boring the more you try and discover more things about it. Okay? We'll see you on the next DVD.